Hey, welcome to the shop. This is the first video in a two-part review of my Honda Goldwing. I've made it clear in other videos that I love this bike, but there are things about it that I can criticize, and I'll try my best to make this review as balanced and objective as possible. I've put about 20,000 kilometers on this GL since I bought it 2.5 years ago, so I'm not what you'd call a veteran Goldwing owner, but I've had enough time in the saddle to offer an informed review. I've broken this review into two videos. The first installment will be about this bike, its features, options, and aftermarket add-ons. And in the second video, I'll talk about my riding and ownership experience after having lived with this bike for a couple of years. And as always, ask in a comment if I've missed anything. I think the Goldwing is a beautiful looking bike. Yes, it's big and it has an acre of plastic, and I know that style isn't for everyone. But the elegant lines form that iconic Goldwing look, and for me at least, there's no mistaking one for a competitor's bike. This one still looks good for its age, although the red paint is faded in places and it has a few scratches. The paint still sparkles with SC1 applied, and the chrome is holding up well. So overall, I believe this bike still turns heads. As the ultimate testament to my pride of ownership, I still find myself looking back at this bike when I walk away after parking it. As for comfort, I'd be surprised if any motorcycle could be better. The seats are large, nicely shaped, and just firm enough. My wife sometimes puts a rolled up cloth behind her seat to act as a lumbar support on longer rides. I had minor lower back discomfort until I installed the Utopia backrest that came with this bike. I think the upright riding position is a key reason why the ergonomics of this bike just works so well on long rides. In other reviews I've seen, people with longer legs than mine say that the rearward positioning of the foot pegs is a bit cramped, so your mileage may vary. After I first got this bike, I experienced upper back pain and shoulder pain after an hour or two of riding. Turns out this is common for those of us built low to the ground, and the cure for me was a set of handlebar risers from MBL Innovations. I took this bike for a 20-hour endurance ride in 2021, and I experienced no physical discomfort. It's asking a lot for a motorcycle to be comfortable after 20 solid hours of riding, and I couldn't expect any better. This bike has aftermarket ISO hand grips and the handrest on the throttle. I often use that handrest, and I believe the shape of the ISO grips does help reduce fatigue and cramping, but I find them a bit bulky for the size of my hands. I've been thinking about looking for a good set of OEM hand grips because I believe the smaller diameter would suit me better. This Goldwing came with aftermarket highway boards, and I use those to stretch my legs occasionally. However, since the positioning of your feet plays an important role in steering a bike through corners, I'm just not comfortable using these boards as a normal riding position when I'm not on the highway. The mirrors on my Goldwing work better than those on any other motorcycle I've seen. They form the widest part of the bike, and they give me a broad field of view that's easy to check without moving my head. Forward visibility will of course vary depending on your size and the windshield you have. With my current windshield, I can see anything on the road that's more than about 5 meters ahead of my front wheel. The original windshield that came with my bike was damaged by an incompatible cleaner. Since I'm not tall enough to see over the OEM windshield, I decided to replace it with a 12-inch Madstad, which I'm very happy with. The Madstad acts like a spoiler and deflects the wind and rain over the riders while allowing me to still see over it. We experienced a lot of buffeting at highway speeds with the OEM windshield, and after getting the Madstad dialed in, the buffeting is pretty much gone, and it's much better than the OEM windshield was at any height. The headlights are very good compared to any other bike I've ridden. Mine has the stock halogen headlight bulbs and the optional fog lights. Added to the marker lights in the mirror-mounted turn signals, the total of 6 lamps facing forward make this bike more visible from the front than most would be. I also find the adjustable angle of the headlights useful. It's there to compensate for the pitch of the bike when it's loaded or if the rear suspension preload is changed. But I find myself tweaking that angle depending on the type of road I'm on. I am considering installing an LED headlamp kit. I don't find these ones lacking, but I've heard the quality LED kits are an improvement, and so long as it's legal, you can never have too much forward lighting. The GL 1800 gauge cluster looks more like that of a car than of a motorcycle. The gauges are large and clear and easy to read in any light, thanks to good backlighting and the visor above the cluster. Because my bike has GPS or satellite navigation, it has the optional larger LCD display. Its resolution and color scream early 2000s, but it's easy to read and it switches from day mode to night mode based on the date, time, and your location. The clock automatically sets itself to the local time, and from what I can tell, it stays accurate to within a few seconds. The GPS or satellite navigation system works, but it's not especially easy to use. The graphics are crude, and the maps in my system haven't been updated since 2006. With my smartphone mounted on the handlebar and synced to my headset, I never need to use the onboard GPS anyway. Since this bike is equipped with so many electronic gadgets, the handlebar controls bring to mind something out of a fighter jet. The sheer number of switches makes it necessary to spread them out, so it can be a stretch sometimes to reach the less commonly used ones. The handlebar switches have that solid feel you always get with Honda cars. I'm not really a big fan of the self-canceling turn signals. Like they did on my V65 Sabre, they sometimes cancel prematurely, so I find myself flicking that switch every 5 or 10 seconds just to be sure they stay on long enough. I know it takes some tricky logic to make these work in all situations, but frankly, I'd be happy without them. Just thinking about that early cancellation is a minor but unneeded distraction when you're turning a half-ton two-wheeler through a busy intersection. The cruise control settings are intuitive and easy to use without looking at them. This one needs several seconds to take control after I first set the speed. If I don't compensate with the throttle in those first few seconds, it can drop 10 to 20 kilometers per hour on the highway before it recovers, and then after that it works fine. I'm pretty sure this can be fixed by adjusting the cruise control cable, which I'll do when I have the bike apart this winter. Reverse is a great feature to have, although I've only used it maybe a half dozen times in 2+ years. To use reverse, you press the reverse button with the engine running in neutral, and then after reverse engages, you can move the bike backward by pressing the engine starter button. The horns are dual high-low pitch units, and they are really loud. It's not a chirp like you'd get on most bikes. It's an intense, deep tone that's more like a car horn. And that's fine by me. This bike has an excellent sound system with 6 speakers, AM, FM, weather band, and an auxiliary input. Mine doesn't have the optional CD changer, but that for me would have just been extra weight in the trunk anyway. The sound quality is surprisingly good.
The ugly beast of winter is out there.
Liberate yourself from its grip in an all-new 2023 Honda CR-V from
A little surprised. I do remember hearing, though, a lot of positive.
The volume is speed corrected, but it has to be turned up quite high at highway speeds. So I typically only use the sound system at lower speeds. The CB radio works, but I never use it, so to me it's just extra weight. The same goes for the intercom. The bike didn't come with the Honda helmet headsets that go with it, and we already had Bluetooth intercom, so we didn't need it anyway. Of course, there are many more controls than just on the handlebars. These push switches for the hazard lights and fog lights on these bikes are notoriously bad for sticking down. I took them apart as far as possible and cleaned them last year. That worked, but within a few weeks they started to stick down again. The fog lights are automatically turned off when the headlights are in high beam, and I haven't yet needed to use the hazard lights, so I just try to leave those switches alone and hope they don't stick if I ever need to use them. The lid for the gas cap has an interesting little quirk. It's made of a light plastic that's quite flexible. When you're pulling out the key, the lid can snap like a spring to close and lock itself again. This is a trivial complaint, but it can happen easily if you're not thinking about it, and you'll find yourself needing to unlock the cap again. It's more likely to happen when you're opening the cap with one hand. You know, because you're doing an iron butt endurance ride, and you're treating every refuel like a Formula 1 pit stop, and you think you can shave off a few seconds by grabbing the gas nozzle with one hand while opening the tank with the other. I haven't found the heated hand grips make a big difference. Maybe because the thickness of the ISO grips reduces the amount of heat getting to my hands, and because I wear insulated gloves on colder days. My hands don't get cold riding this bike in any weather, because the fairing and the mirrors do such a good job of deflecting the wind around them. The heated seats, on the other hand, really make a difference. My seat gets as warm as can be comfortable, and it heats my core, leaving more energy to keep my extremities warm. I can comfortably ride this bike at temperatures down to 5 degrees Celsius, and that extends my riding season by at least a month, here in the Great White North. This bike has air vents in the fairing behind the radiators, and foot warmer vents giving out exhaust heat. I can't feel much heat from either of these, and I don't believe they make much difference. When I'm dressed for cold weather riding, a small bit of warm air isn't going to be noticeable. This bike is plenty comfortable without that heat anyway, because it does such a good job at keeping the wind off its riders. Although the fairing and windshield do an excellent job of keeping away the wind, there are tunnels around the front forks that allow them some turning room, and those tunnels can pass quite a bit of air that could make cold weather riding less enjoyable. Mine came with a set of these foam tunnel fillers. I've taken them out just to test how well they work, and they do make a noticeable difference. I'd recommend installing these on your GL if you ride in cold weather. These so-called dragon wings were installed when I bought the bike, and I believe they're really helpful. I've never ridden the bike without them, so I can't really judge how much wind they block, but I do notice quite a difference in the breeze I feel when I open the vents. So that covers the first installment of this review. In part 2, I'll describe the riding and ownership experience after 2 years on this Goldwing. So please subscribe. It would mean a lot to the channel, and then you'll see the rest of this review when it drops. In the meantime, please have a look at my motorcycle stuff playlist to see other videos you might enjoy. Thanks for watching.